Paul was just saying, like, just before you connected, he was like, "Oh, I've got to do a nervous poo," and he was
really? Yeah,
and
that can happen. That can happen.
yeah,
It used to happen. It used to happen in my early days of stand-up, but not anymore. I just hold on now. I don't want to go. I don't want to go at the pub or the club or somewhere. I did one. I did one the other day. Oh, you know why? I had to run. A guy got us to do. Me and Glenn Robbins and a guy Des Delling, another comic, to do a Zoom gig for a golf club. And the guy, the Cooney, he said, I'm not that. Can you run the Zoom? So I had to sign up to webinar and run the technology. Which I had to have a nervous number 2 before that and then what happened was we were meant to come in at 8. I got on at 7:30, and Glenn Robbins, I can't see him, I can hear him, and Des, I can see him, but I could hear him, but not. It was, and so I was pressing buttons, and then people started putting out messages saying, "We're loving the pre-show. This is awesome. Old guys doing tech." So
it's a good name for a podcast.
Yeah, I actually hit whatever start, and people were just watching us. Me going, "No, I can't see you, Glenn. I can hear you." So anyway. That's stressful.
Welcome to Onboard for Delivery.
I think we missed a memo. We wore some red flannel for you, Dave, thinking that you would
I normally do wear checks. But no, I've got just a blue shirt on with stains and stuff. There's all been cooking.
Oh, stains. Cake. What sort of cake?
Chocolate cake. Beautiful.
Chocolate cake. I love chocolate cake. Mud cake or just normal chocolate cake?
No, just normal chocolate cake.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
Look at your pristine backgrounds compared to me. I'm at my bunker.
Yeah.
So
no, don't worry, Dave. Don't worry. I've got lollies in the drawer behind me. I've got chip packets to the side. You just can't see them.
Yeah.
Well, this is like a joke because I have a white screen. This is an actual screen that goes up, and I start every corporate Zoom gig I do by saying how professional I am. And I hang shit on all their backgrounds because, there's people with virtual backgrounds. They really annoy me.
Yeah.
And then I lean back and it just falls over and there's all this stuff behind it. And I'm like, oh, no. Oh.
Yeah.
Always a funny man. Always a funny man.
Yeah. Trying to get a laugh.
Well, I'm surrounded by all these lights. It's like the set of The Bachelor. And I'm sweltering in this flannel shirt. I wore this especially. And I had the whole there's the elephant in the room joke all lined up. And you're not wearing the flannel.
The flannel.
Yeah, I've never seen you without it.
You could be in The Bachelor. I mean, I don't think Paul could, but you could possibly look like that kind of fit guy.
Mate, I was actually asked to go on a what was it? Please Marry My Boy. Was that the show? This was many years ago, but I was a little bit less chunky back then. But thanks, Dave.
Well,
appreciate the kind words.
Because I'm a big man. I do fat jokes, so I get in before people get in on me.
Yeah.
So, but we should declare we know each other from Paul. Because I do the great gigs for the great Vinny.
You do. I've met you a few times through Vin, and he's obviously not doing many events these days. But he'll get back into it.
He's a Geelong-based sports and comedy promoter.
He is.
No, there's not a lot of people can say they're that. There's not.
Exactly right.
But you're always a friendly face. I was telling my daughter, who's a teenager, and we came down to. Vinny had the meeting with the engine room. Remember the 3 Geelong legends?
Yeah.
Because my daughter loves Paddy, Joel, Gary, and they were there in that room in an upstairs restaurant in Geelong. And my daughter remembers you because you were talking to us and were friendly. She said, "But Vin looked stressed." And I said, "Yeah, he probably was stressed." He's trying to manage.
I wasn't.
Yeah. Trying to manage these 3 legends, and and there's every footy club gets their certain amount of tragics turning up. I have to say.
Yeah. I think your family was from Geelong originally.
Yeah, my wife's family's from Geelong.
Yeah, right.
I'm from the outer eastern. I'm from Mitcham, but
Mitcham.
We're all basically Geelong supporters now because they're going well. So we get behind them.
Yeah, well, Mitcham. So Mitcham was one of the first.
Does my name still say Joe? Someone changed that.
Yeah. Who is Joe?
Yeah, no, I did a Zoom the other day for a blood company. And they said we're going to change your name so no one knows who you are. So it was pretty.
You got one of those faces that I think people know who you are.
No, yeah, true. Here we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, so Paul and I, so you're actually our first guest on the show, and like we're so excited about it. But before you said yes, and we're like, we need to have like a really big, a big name, a special guest, someone really attractive, someone really good looking. Went through all the names, and one of us suggested Ruby Rose, and we're like, yeah, Ruby Rose. She's like one of Australia's best looking, and she's lesbian, obviously, and we're like, I wonder if we can get her on, and so we contacted a few people, and we ended up with
me.
With yourself.
Well, you know what? The first guest, Dave, it can go either way. You can be headhunted in the fact that we picked you because we wanted a striking first guest, someone an expert in technology who can come and join our podcast. Or it means that you're the first person to say yes. So
probably the first person to say yes because you've been friendly to me in the past. But I assume Ruby Rose would be in Hollywood. People like that would be very hard to get.
Yeah,
I would assume.
Yeah, so we found. Yeah.
If Kieran from Big Brother is not interested, I don't think we're going to get Ruby Rose. So
No.
That's okay. But why go Ruby Rose when you can get a Katie Lang lookalike? So
that's right.
That's
what people say. Or Renee Lawrence from the Bali Nine. I've had that before too. So
you do.
I've had it all. I've had it all.
I was watching one of your stand-ups earlier today, doing my research, and you were telling a story. This I don't know how many years ago it was, but you were telling a story about going to a concert, the band with the red.
Devo,
a Devo concert, and you're saying a story about you're on the train, and do you remember? Oh, that's the one there.
That's my
the
book.
one there. Yeah,
I have it on hand.
So do I, Dave.
There we go.
Number one fan.
I've got all my merch. There's a Nugget DVD. Get into it. $11.99 at Kmart. Yes, that's right. That story, which is a true story, but we went to see Devo, who, I mean, I don't want to call you guys nerds, but you do a tech podcast, and if you were my age, you would have been into Devo because they were a big nerd band.
They had that big song. What was that song?
Whip It Good.
Yeah.
Correct.
And the other one as well. Yeah.
Beautiful World.
Yeah.
Girl You Want.
Girl You Want.
Was it? Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, but because they were like five guys and they were all like sort of sciencey kind of, and they had all these weird theories they used to put on their records and stuff, the devolution and all this. But and they had a song called, and they also had a song that targeted bullies called "We're Through with Being Cool," and they would talk about how they're through with being cool.
Being cool.
Yeah, so they hated the jocks basically.
Yeah,
they hated the jocks.
Yeah. Speaking of jocks, let's talk about VHS for a minute because I was thinking during the week about
the Nugget.
You still do you have a VHS player to play that on?
No, I don't. And a lot of my early appearances are on VHS. So I appeared on the Midday Show, Hey It's Saturday, New Faces, and they're all on VHS. And I actually bought a converter. You can buy a converter. But you've got to have a VHS. And when I was doing some work at the ABC, of course, they have VHSs. There were several of them just in like the boardroom kind of.
Wow.
And so we went and took one of them, and one of the more tech-savvy guys put some of my VHS stuff onto hard drive, but not all of it. So, because they're hard to get. I mean, I don't even know if cash converters would have one now. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm surprised you can't get...
I've got this old Gary Ablett VHS. From years ago, and I was listening to it. My dad, he won this competition. Remember that, Tim, where he won this competition at the footy, where he had to kick a goal from outside 50 or whatever, and he won a top of the range VHS, maybe a VHS DVD combo. Yeah, that's how rare they are. And I used to watch it on that, but you can't watch them anymore. They're not around anymore.
Let's go back to the bit where your dad won a kicking from 50. That's pretty incredible, isn't it?
Look, I really wanted to have a go. I thought I was a better kick than him, as you do, and he wouldn't let me, and I was furious. But then, now that I'm a dad, I realise, I wouldn't let my kids do it either. I want to do it,
Yeah. Your dad should have played for Geelong. I mean, you bring up Gary Ablett, which is very topical at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
I only watched a couple of minutes.
Dad actually... Yeah.
That's all you need to watch.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. Basically, people don't know, he was a former Geelong absolute legend, but he had problems in his personal life. And now he's a rabid conspiracy theorist. where he talks about the Illuminati and I love it, the Freemasons. He mentions because my dad's a Freemason. He's 84 now. As if the Freemasons can do anything apart from get a cup of coffee these days. They can't do anything. They're not creating a virus and spreading it throughout the world.
Yeah, no, he's definitely lost a few things. But his nickname was God back when he played, so maybe there's something to that.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel sorry for him.
Well, Gary Ablett Senior. So yeah, when I was a kid, he was my boyhood idol. Just like I used to be in the hickey stand, and every week he would walk down at the start of the game, and the crowd would just start clapping him before the game started. Yeah. And he was just unbelievable. But I actually met him. Actually, there was 2 times I met him. So he does have he's got that off-field reputation, getting caught up in the wrong thing. But I was in time zone as a kid with my mum back when I was a kid.
And it's already a good story.
Yeah.
Right,
and Gary Ablett was in there, and he was helping a disabled kid in and out of all the arcade machines.
Oh, wow.
And there were no cameras around, there were no newspapers. He was just doing this. So I get the feeling he was doing a lot of things behind the scenes and just didn't show off and make a big deal of it. So
I heard that maybe I heard this from you, Dave. I don't know where I heard this, but I heard that he used to order food and then pay for it with a check.
Yes.
And because he was so popular, they wouldn't cash the check in.
Yes.
So he got free pizza.
Yes.
Speaking of...
I told you that story. I've heard that story.
Yeah.
And I always retell it, and I don't know whether it's true. The other great story, which I've seen Billy Brownless and a few footballers tell, is they go along to a Auskick maybe in Corio. I think they always say Corio, a poorer part of Geelong. And there's a kid there with his boots are falling apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Gary goes to Billy, "Oh, this is no good. I'm going to help this kid out." So he goes up to the kid and he pulls out these wads of 50s with rubber bands around them. And he goes, "Hey kid, come here." And the kid comes around and he pulls the rubber bands off and he goes, "Put those rubber bands around your shoes. That'll work better."
Yeah.
Wouldn't give up the pineapples.
I don't know if that's a true story, but that's a very funny story.
Oh, it's hilarious.
I think there's a story of Gary Ablett Senior. Speaking of pizzas, we mentioned before, the pizza delivery driver. Do you remember that story, Paul?
Didn't he punch one?
Yeah.
Well,
I think you're right.
Our Uncle Frank, shout out to Uncle Frank. He's a Carlton supporter, and every time we see Frank, like to this day, that's like probably 30 years of history there. He always brings up Gary Ablett punching out the pizza delivery driver story every time.
Maybe he wouldn't accept a check.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But,
we've got a few of them on the wall, Gary. We want actual money. So both of you are still Cat supporters?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm a Cat supporter. I've got my daughter who she was a Cat supporter, and now she always goes for whichever team's winning. Like she just she has no shame. It's like, okay, this team's winning, so I'm going to go for them. And sometimes after the team's won, she makes a decision on who she's going for. So
right. How old's your daughter? Young, must be young.
She's just turned 9.
Oh, okay. Well, not that young. Should know better. But so you would have watched, because we're Geelong supporters here, you would have watched that game last night, which was just... There's a nice edge. So for people that don't know, it was down to the Geelong were losing the whole time against Sydney Swans, who they shouldn't have... I mean, they should have beat... they should be able to beat Sydney Swans.
Well,
not
by a lot,
8.
yeah.
And then it got down to the wire. It got down to and the hero was... What's his name? The great backman who was a runner.
Oh, he did the smother.
Mark Blitzars.
Yeah, Blitzard threw himself on the ball. Yeah,
that
was fantastic.
Mm.
The other guy got a pretty good hold on that kick, and he just did that smother at the last second.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And we just want to remind people that this is a tech podcast. Yeah. But can I just quickly touch on a story that happened the other day? And I've been waiting all week to tell it, Tim. But we're in Melbourne, so stage 4 restrictions, so we pretty much can't go anywhere. But we were able to go to the park, and my son just started getting back into skateboarding. And he just turned 8, so it was his birthday, and we took him to the park. And we went to the park with him, and there was a few people around skateboarding, but there was the typical skateboarders that
not friendly.
the typical non-friendly sort of kids that just muck around and hang around skate parks and whatnot. And we were there for about an hour, and then this kid started bad mouthing my son.
What?
Saying all these rude things to him about everything. And
how old was this kid?
Oh, he would have been 15 or 16, maybe a bit older.
God. How old's your kid?
And I just thought, we just turned 8. So I was like, I'm sticking up for him. We're saying, you don't speak to a child like that. That's how dare you? That's just terrible. And then on the way home, and I said to Parker, I said, what happened? And he goes, well, I went up to the kid and said, my wheels are better than yours. And then he started having a go at me. And I was like, why didn't you tell me that part of the story at the beginning? I'm like, you probably deserved it.
Yeah, don't do that to a teenager.
You don't just walk up and say, my wheels are, hey, Dave, my jokes are better than yours.
Yeah.
Like, you don't do
that's not good. And not to someone twice your size and twice your age.
Yeah. Someone a bit smaller, of course. Yeah, no problem.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So anyway,
so Dave, so you've got a lot of food in the background there. What you got? Twisties, cornflakes, toilet paper. Is so obviously everything you need, pretty much.
I live in this room. This is the. I got Weet-Bix. I got toilet paper. I got both ends covered.
Yeah,
and I've got all sorts of stuff there. I've got like really bad stuff like Ovaltinis. I've got cereal. There's a can of beer right there. I keep accumulating stuff. No, it's all for the jokes for my Zoom gigs. It's all for the jokes.
Yeah. Next time I Zoom with you, I'll count how many twisty packets are left, and then we'll see.
Yeah, well, that's going to disappear. Don't worry about that. Salt and vinegar are very good. Very good chip. Very good chip.
Oh, because my junk food or our junk food's in our pantry, and our pantry makes that squeaky sound when you open and close. So the other day, I had to actually spray WD-40 on the hinges, so my wife wouldn't know when she goes to bed. Yeah. Because every time she goes to bed, I sit on the couch and you hear the door, and I didn't want her to know that I was secret eating, which is what I do a lot actually.
Well, same here. Anyone who's slightly overweight will be a secret eater. Often the car. Well, see, we're in Melbourne, so you don't go anywhere now. So the car used to be. But also, when my kids were little, I just used to open the pantry door and stand behind it and eat. But when they got to about 6, they were on to me. Dad's eating behind the cupboard.
Yeah.
Also, when they were little, I would do that. My partner would go to bed. The kids would go to bed. I would have some twisties and Diet Coke and M&Ms in the lounge room. And sometimes I'd leave the wrappers. My son got up and he went, Dad, someone's had a party in the lounge room. I'm like, yeah, there were these burglars. They break in, they have a party, they eat my food. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Burglars have been.
Are you doing much? Are you doing much in the way of obviously comedy? You must be doing a bit of Zoom gigs these days. Is that taking off?
Yes. Yeah, it's been interesting actually. I counted the other day. I've done almost 40 Zoom gigs now.
Wow.
So I don't know if I've cornered the market, but I do some by myself. I do some with Hughesy. Yeah. I do some with Kitty Flanagan. Yeah, Hughesy's got a problem.
Yeah.
Hughesy's good. He's very. I mean, the thing about Hughesy is he's up for anything because I'm just trapped at home. So he and some with Glenn Robbins and some with Des Dowling. I've done with Limo. Yes, I'll work with anyone, but sometimes it's a budget thing. They go, we can't only afford one of you, so I just do it by myself. And sometimes they're great. Like what did I do the other night? The real estate agents, and you can see them all. And you just hang shit on them, and they love it. But some are a bit more, you can't. Me and Hughesy did, what was it? Like a chemical company or something. And they don't want, it's very more corporate. So they don't want, it actually said in the email, no roasting the employees.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
So you've got to keep it, PG kind of stuff. But that's still okay. Well, it's been interesting because I first said no to them all, and then I just went, why not? I'm just sitting at home. And then I created my whole Zoom studio. So it's taken off.
I'm glad you brought that up because, after all, this is a tech podcast, and we're available on iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, and all other popular podcast networks. So it's a good point that you're making because in the past, you'd probably do gigs in real life.
Yeah.
And this is almost forced to do the gigs online, but it's opening up a new idea because you don't physically have to be somewhere. You could do a gig for a company in America or another part of Australia, And people probably have never thought of that idea before. So it's actually opening up more business opportunities using technology.
It's true. It's actually true. And, I mean, occasionally you have technical faults, but most of the time it's pretty good. And, I mean, you're using Zoom at the moment, but a lot of the corporate, they use Microsoft Teams. And a few of the really big, like, mining companies. And we've done a few for teachers. And the education system has their own software, which isn't amazing, but it still works. And you can still, like, they're all very similar. You know what I mean? But who would ever thought? I mean, imagine the guy sitting at Zoom 2 years ago going, yeah, business is okay. You know, I got 5 people working for me. Yeah, doing it. Now it's just like, wow, it's just
maybe the guy from Zoom is the guy that released the virus.
Yes,
maybe that's what he's done. That so.
Well, everyone says Zoom's Chinese, but it's actually American Chinese guy created Zoom. Yeah, the offices are in America. Yeah, Americanese.
Yeah. Well, we're using Zoom. We're using Zoom purely for chatting to you and so we can see each other. But off to the side, I'm recording with a Sony camera and obviously our mic here. So we've got the professional setup going. But Zoom makes it easier to actually see each other and communicate, because without that, we're just going to be staring at a wall. It's a very difficult.
Very good point you're making. The podcast I do with Glenn Robbins, we initially recorded it on Zoom. And it's no good. The quality's no good. And so now we do I've got my own recorder, he's got his own recorder, and then you put those files together, which is what you guys obviously do because you're tech heads. But we didn't realise that at the start. We just went, we'll just record on Zoom. Then you listen to it, it's like, someone sounds like they're down a pipe, and then...
Yeah, well, the evolution, I mean, this all started because I bought a pair of headphones, and we haven't got time to get into detail about how it got to this, but we did start sort of practicing with Zoom and GoToMeetings and all these different programs, just Google Hangouts, but it ended up just being record on a camera, record with a good sound, and use Zoom just so we can communicate with one another. That seems to be the thing. But speaking of tech, because this is a tech podcast,
I
had to organise a script at the chemist, and the doctor asked for the chemist fax machine number. So
I love it.
Over.
Yes.
They still use faxes?
Yes.
I thought faxes went when...
I know.
Years ago. They still use them.
It's interesting. Well, you know, the recent contact tracing stuff, apparently they were using fax machines and whiteboards.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. But also, I see the guy in my local mini supermarket, Milk Bar, Albert, he uses a fax machine to put in his orders.
Wow,
so you
still use them?
Yeah. I know. It's so odd. But I mean, you're tech guys. How fax was invented is a great story. I can't remember it, but it is an actual great story of how they invented fax machines. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, we'll bring that up on the next episode, I think.
Yeah, so
we'll talk about that.
So all the advancements in latest technology. Today we've covered VHS, we've covered fax machines, we've covered twisties, toilet paper, lesbians.
Look what I've got. I've got a landline. Check that out. Check that baby out. Yeah.
What is that?
That's a landline phone.
Does it work? Is it plugged in?
Does it work?
Yeah. Yep. When I got the NBN put on, you just tick a box that says you can have a landline. And I use that. I use that for radio interviews and stuff because it's better. It sounds better than mobile. Much better. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
We're old school tech. I don't know what else I've got in here. No, that's about it.
You must have a lot of that sort of stuff around the house.
Yeah, I had my first laptop from the early 90s, but I threw it out. It was so funny. It was like it was a Mac. It was made out of plastic. It was fantastic. I should have kept it, but I threw it out. It was so funny. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm in my 50s, so computers weren't around when I was a kid or even a teenager. It was only at uni when computers came in for me in the 80s. So
yeah, right. I mean, it's funny you're a comedian, and when people think of comedians, they don't think of members of parliament. But you ran for, didn't you run for something?
Yeah, seat of Jellybrand, which is not far from where you are. That's the western suburbs of Melbourne,
yeah.
And I did it as a joke. And,
okay.
But still, I didn't get my deposit back, and I got more votes than Family First and the Democrats put together.
That's good.
And it's one of the safest Labor seats in Australia. But the woman, Nicola Roxon was the member, and she was the health minister, so she was quite high up in the Labor Party. But her sister used to run the local bakery. And so I was, obviously, because I'm fat, I was friends with her and her husband, who was the barista of the year in 2001, I think it was. He was. Anyway, he had a plaque up at the cafe, and he told me that his sister was worried that I was getting all the press in the local area. Well, I mean, you know, you can get a photo of me with like a pot on my head being stupid on the front of the local paper. Comedian runs for seat, or you get a photo of her looking serious. What are you going to do? You're going to get the pot on the head. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I love looking at you, Tim. Just sit there and look all prim and proper from the top half. But we can all see what's going on down the bottom. You know what I mean?
You got the shorts.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the camera that will be on the final recording, you can only see from basically here up, and it's quite hot in here because I'm wearing the flannel. And I'm like, I want to take the shorts off, but you guys will be able to see it. So
a bit ugly.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't want to see that, Tim.
Don't want that.
And when you say both of you work in tech, what do you do? Do you work in tech, you guys?
I'm a dog trainer. I do work, so I deal with dogs.
What?
So I'm not really working in tech, but I do love technology and cameras and videos and editing and all that sort of stuff. But I actually work with animals, so
you're a dog trainer.
Yeah, dog trainer.
Do you ever? I mean, I haven't got a dog. I've got a cat, but we're surrounded by dogs here. Do you ever got a dog that you can't train? Are some dogs untrainable?
No, but I have. It's not about the dog. Let's put it that way. It's about the owners. So I have come across some difficult owners. It's like you telling a joke. It's not the crowd that's. It's not you that's wrong if they don't get your joke. You know what I mean?
So well, sometimes it is me, but I know what you mean. But do you you find that certain dogs have certain names, like bull terriers are all called Satan and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
Rocky?
Tank is a very popular staffy name. And Charlie is a really popular golden retriever name. So yeah, there is a bit of a. It's not so much the names, but there's certain types of owners that have certain types of dogs.
It's a very well. Then what about you? What about you, Tim? Are you in tech? Tim?
Yeah, sort of. I work in IT.
He won't. He'll explain it. You won't.
I do.
You look like a cop.
I do like a cop.
So.
I'd be the most pleasant cop. I've never heard a fly, so I'd be. I don't think I'd make the best cop, but no, I work in IT, so at a university. So it was funny because we mentioned Zoom before, and early this year, probably January or so, we implemented Zoom. Because our Chinese students couldn't use Skype and couldn't use Teams, MS Teams, so we had to purchase a license of Zoom. So the Chinese students, and that was when Corona was just this thing you hear on the news about happening in China, and can't believe it that a few months later you would never believe, if you went back in time and spoke to yourself back in January, you would never believe yourself if you said, we can't leave home and you can't go out after a certain time and you got to wear masks, and you wouldn't believe it. So
no, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah,
you're right. Oh, so you're actually in tech as opposed to a dog trainer. To do IT at a uni, that's a pretty full-on job. Because I worked at unis. My dad was a TAFE teacher, so we worked at Swinburne in enrolments, and they were implementing a new computer system. And these guys, they had two of the guys from the company implementing it there permanently. Just permanently implement, to answer all the problems that are going on.
Yeah. I heard you've got some teacher DNA. I did some research today because we are the tech podcast that does the research, so you don't have to. And so I heard you're a teacher, but how many teaching gigs did you do?
How many teaching gigs did I do? None. No, I didn't actually. I finished the course. I did primary teaching straight out of high school, and then I didn't. You go on teaching rounds. You're a student teacher, and that was a nightmare. I mean, I was really young and immature, so I finished my teaching diploma. It was back then at 20, and went, I'm never doing that ever. That's. I find teaching too hard. I could do it now, after 30 years of stand-up, because it's just a lot of bluff and controlling kids. But back, I couldn't do it. And also back then, depending on your marks was where you got sent to what school. So if you had good marks in Melbourne, you'd get the eastern suburbs. or Bayside. If you had average marks, you'd get the North and West. If you had really shit marks, you'd get the country. I was going to go to the Nullarbor with my marks. So,
well, it's funny because Paul and I were talking about teachers the other day because we're watching, I think it was The Bachelor of all shows, and one of the ladies was a teacher, and we're like, pretty sure the teachers didn't look like that when we were at school.
Nah.
And
there was always attractive teachers, but when my kids are at high school now, some of them, there's attractive teachers there. Well, maybe I'm getting older, I don't know. But
they're attractive now. Back when I went to school, the female teachers looked like Sylvester Stallone. There was never any. Nowadays they look like, supermodels.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, isn't it? Yeah. I know. Well, we did a Zoom gig the other day. Me and Glenn Robbins, we did some teachers in Truganina, and a new secondary school which is near Hoppers Crossing near Werribee, and some of those teachers were attractive, the men and the women, very good looking. I don't know, maybe the call was blurred. I don't know what was going on, but teaching. Look, I was talking to another comedian the other day who was talking about, because he's a younger comic and he wants to get a part-time job. He's been doing Nick Capper, his name. He's a very funny man, and he had a job where he's funny. He's big on the Dum Dum Club and podcasts like that, and he has his own podcast, Phone Hacks. And he had a job for the local council measuring the cracks in the footpath. He had to walk around with another guy, and if cracks were above 2.5 centimetres, they had to chalk it and then ring up, and we got a crack on Davidson Street, number 48. And so anyway, he was talking about training to be a teacher's aide, which is those guys you get in the classroom who are helping the kids that have got problems and stuff, and all schools have them these days. And I said, yeah, you know what, I reckon working in a school, I mean, the Tim, working in a uni, it's a bit more interesting than, say, working in an office or a building site in a way, because it's sort of most of the part, it's a nice environment, the kids are great, and they give, energy and stuff. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind going back into a classroom now after, maybe I'll do it. No, I don't think I will. I have to requalify. Well, people say that, and I'd have to requalify though. I'd have to go back to uni, and I don't.
You're homeschooling a lot, aren't you? That's qualification.
Yeah, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare because teaching your own kids that's a nightmare. They don't listen to you. Like, you're not the teacher, Dad. And all that stuff.
So one of my kids said that to me. He was really sad one day. I said, "What are you sad about?" He goes, "Just if I have a problem, I can go to my teacher." And why can't you go to me? He's like, "You don't get grade 5 maths." I'm like, "Yeah, probably right."
Oh, wait till you get to my son's doing year 11. I said I had a look and I went, "Oh no, I can't understand that." I do the year 8 maths with my daughter, but I have to go through the whole textbook and go back to the start and go right, and really concentrate, and then I get it. But that's year 8.
Yeah.
But my hat goes off to teachers. That's a tough job. Yeah. But I did teaching because you'll find this with comedians. Anyone who's from a more blue-collar family, my dad was a fitter and turner and a TAFE teacher. If you were slightly creative, you were pushed into teaching, because there were no performing courses or media courses back when I did uni. And some of them had just started. And so if you were slightly creative, your parents and the teachers at school went, yeah, you should be a teacher. You could be a drama teacher, And so, like, I now, when I look at my other colleagues, like Glenn Robbins was a teacher. Kitty Flanagan studied teaching. Right. Yeah, she did PE teaching, which she said, you'll never guess what degree I did. And I could never have guessed. She did PE teaching. And who else is there? Oh, there's Damien Callanan, Denise Scott. There's quite a few ex-teachers in comedy.
What about Tony Moclair? Do you know what he did prior to comedy?
I know Tony Moclair very well because we are geographical friends. Because his kids go to my same kid's primary school. A state school just over here, and his daughter's there. And Tony lives down the road. So I do have lunch with him occasionally. And, of course, I knew him from back in the Triple R days, because we were both on Triple R on the community radio station. So I've known Tony for years. But I haven't seen him that much since he started doing overnights on AW, because I hear you're big Guido Hatzis fans. Is that correct? Yeah. Or?
I am. I've been a Guido fan for many years.
Can you do Guido, mate? Can you do
Look, I'm
Do the voice.
I think actually, we do have Guido staying with us at the moment during lockdown, so I will go get him in a moment. But
because the thing about Guido is when I moved to this area where I live now, I live in Clifton Hill in the north, in the north of Melbourne, and quite a few Greeks around here. And I went to the local deli in Fairfield, and the guy there, Phil, goes, "Oh mate, you're that comedian, aren't you?" He goes, "You know who comes in here? Guido Hatzis." I'm like, no. Fully knowing that Tony lived in the area, I'm like, no, you're kidding me. He goes, "Mate, Guido Hatzis." And you wouldn't know him if you saw him. You wouldn't know him. And so then one day we were at the pub in Fairfield, me and Tony, and I run a comedy night there. Well, I used to before COVID. And Tony was doing his... Because he used to do Guido live occasionally. And he wanted to do like do a phone call from the stage. Like, you know... And I said, let's try it out. Just to test the tech out. You'll appreciate that because this is a tech podcast.
That's right.
And so we plugged the phone into the mixing desk. I said, who are we going to ring? I said, let's ring Phil from the deli. So I ring the deli. Phil, "Hello, Fairfield Deli." And Guido's like, "Yeah, mate, this is Guido Hatzis here, mate. I want a kilo of tough shit, mate. You got some tough shit on?" You know, and Phil's like, "This is not Guido Hatzis. I know Guido Hatzis, and you're not him."
Well, look,
I had great pleasure going in and saying, "Phil, that was Guido Hatzis who rang you, the man."
Let me. You guys can talk amongst yourselves for a minute, and I'll go get him. And it's not. Full disclaimer, he's feeling a little bit tired, so we'll see how we go. But I'll go get him. Won't be a moment.
Yeah.
Oh my God, has he got the wig and everything, Tim? Is that what happens?
I think he got in trouble because we've been buying so much tech equipment, and his fiance, you know, they're saving up for a wedding. And, you know, he bought a camera, and then he bought a lens, and she's like, no more spending. And then all of a sudden, a wig and a pair of sunglasses turn up, and so he's finding it hard to justify.
He's getting married, hasn't he? Didn't he say he got an 8-year-old? It's like a late marriage, a second marriage.
Yeah,
it's something.
Yeah,
Something's going
it's something like that. Something like that. Who knows?
We can't talk about it. Fair enough.
But I think Guido has the opposite problem. Like Guido just has so many women that can't keep their hands off him. It sounds like when you speak to him.
Well, yeah, you can still on YouTube. There's a few Guido calls, the one with the plumber and stuff that have been animated, and it's still to this day very funny. Yeah, very funny.
Yeah. It was funny. I was watching YouTube or Facebook the other day, and they had one of those Karen type people on.
Yeah.
But the guy was halfway there to being Guido. He was having a crack at the police, and it was terrible. But he was very Guido-ish.
Oh my God, he's back.
So
let's have a look.
There he is. So welcome Guido Jr.
Yeah, mate, what's up? Mate, do you like the curls, mate? The curls, they get the girls, mate.
You look good, mate. You look good.
Yeah,
that's
mate.
very convincing.
Yeah, mate, this is my look, mate. Mate, it's the steroids, mate. You know what I was thinking the other day, mate? Mate, 2.3%, Dave. What does 2.3% mean to you?
I don't know. Is that an interest rate or what is that?
2.3%, mate, is not just how many votes you got, mate. Mate, in the election,
Yes.
2.3%, mate, is also my body fat percentage, mate. Mate, it's as low that I'm an animal, mate. 2.3. Mate, the women, they go nuts for my 2.3.
Guido, can I ask you what have you been doing in the last 20 years or 15 years since you've been gone? What are you...
Yeah, mate, let me tell you.
Were you running the Greek economy? Is that what you were doing?
No, mate, not the Greek economy, mate, but I'm running the shit show, mate, that the government. Mate, I've been... mate, they tell me to mask up. Mate, let me tell you, mate, the mask, mate, it can cover my face, mate, but it can never cover my good looks, mate. Mate, let me tell you, mate, the women, they ripping my mask off, mate.
Mate, Guido, you should come and work with me. You know what I've been doing on this farm? I've been doing a bit of security work at the motel in the city.
Yeah, mate, let me tell you, the girls, they go nuts for security too, mate, as we know.
I look like Benny Hill, Guido. But anyway, there we go. Security. That's one of my props. There it is.
Yeah, mate, let me tell you, mate, I tell you what, mate, I've been eating salami. Mate, do you like salami, mate?
I love salami.
Mate, the women, they love my salami.
Oh, do they? Is it a big one or a small one?
Mate, it's like a Frankfurt, mate. Mate, but you know what? It's not what it looks like, mate. It's how it tastes, mate, and how it goes, mate. Mate, the women, mate, like the Bachelor in Paradise, mate. The Bachelor, mate, in Deli Shop, mate. That's my new show, The Bachelor in Deli Shop.
Really? The Deli Shop?
Mate.
I like that. Hot and spicy, mild,
mate,
Hungarian.
Hot and spicy, mate. Mate, I tell you what, mate, I burn from both ends, mate. Mate, the women, they love me from both ends. Yeah, mate.
You're very good. You should take us on the road, Guido.
Yeah, mate. Mate, I should, mate. But the women, mate, they don't let me get out of the town, mate. They chase me. They got some cronies, mate. What are those people called, mate, that follow you around? Mate, they're
groupies.
Groupies, mate. Mate, they're groupies, mate. Let me tell you, the groupies. Mate, I cannot handle myself. But you got the toilet paper, mate? I need some of that.
Toilet paper.
Yeah, mate.
Some wheat
mate, I gotta wipe, mate, the sweat from my back, mate, after doing a breakdance, mate.
Oh, you're a breakdancer.
Yeah, mate.
Whoa.
Mate, I do it in front of the mirror, mate, every day. Mate, the women, they watch, or like a Zoom, mate, they watch from behind, mate.
It's like that old Diet Coke ad. Remember where they have the Diet Coke break and they look out the window at the construction worker taking his shirt off? That'd be similar to the women in your area.
Oh, yeah, mate. Look at this. Look at the curls, mate. Mate, I look like Vince Colosimo, mate, from that show. What's that movie? Takeaway?
Yeah,
I look a little bit like,
yeah. Or Chopper. Where he
Chopper,
no
mate.
Cash, mate. No cash,
I can't
do. Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. No, I saw Vince the other day.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah,
Really?
He's looking good. He's looking good.
Mate, mate. Do not talk over me. Mate, he's looking good, but he's not looking this good, mate. Mate, not as good as me.
You got the dish good. This
good, mate. Mate, let me tell you, mate, mate, I've been dancing earlier to Funky Town, mate, by Pseudo Echo, mate.
Yeah.
You know that song.
Man, I love Pseudo Echo, but I preferred some of their other songs like what was the other one? There's a beat for you in my heart. There's a beat for you in my heart. Or
yeah,
Don't
mate.
Go. Don't Go was a great song.
Don't go, mate.
Don't
mate, that's
go.
what the women say to me, mate, every time I walk past them. Mate, do not go, mate. Don't go. Mate, I've been dropping clag all day looking for you, mate. And here they are. So, but look, it was nice to chat to you, mate. But I've got to go.
You go,
mate. But I will speak to you. I'll speak to you both very soon. Okay, goodbye, my friend.
Thank you very much, Guido.
All
my
right.
God. So Tim, who is that?
Guido.
Guido's younger brother? Who? What's that?
Yeah,
guy?
it's Guido Jr. So he must be one of probably Guido's kids. He's probably got plenty of kids that he doesn't know about. So this is most likely one of them. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow, impressive. And it's interesting how long it takes you to take a wig and glasses off. I like the professionalism of Paul. He's left the room.
Yeah.
To take his wig and glasses off.
Yeah.
Maybe he's having a drink or something. He's getting the.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Sure.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. So.
Oh, you missed.
All right,
Guido.
sorry guys. I was just go and get a drink, but we're back now. So.
Oh, you missed Guido.
What?
Yeah, he was here. He was here, mate. He was here, mate.
Always missing him.
It was very convincing, mate. It was very convincing.
Yeah.
I got to tell Tony Moakley about this.
Yeah, I'll get him on the show. He can have Guido versus Guido. They can have a little Guido off.
Yes,
Guido
mate.
off, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. But he does overnight radio now, so I don't know if he's what he's doing, but anyway.
Sleeping.
Probably, yeah. And he's got children, so he's busy. But
Yeah, well, there
put
you
in
go.
a call, mate. Put in a call. That's very good. It's very good, Guido.
Yeah, and let's just remind people this is a tech podcast, but I've got one dad joke. We do one dad joke per episode. Yeah. But Tim, so what did the magician say to the fisherman?
Oh.
Pick a cod, any cod.
Oh, that's
there
terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is that what makes a good dad joke? The worse it is, the better it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've got to be puns. I mean, that's a pun. Pick a cod. That's a pun or a wordplay. Yeah, my dad used to say, what did he used to say? I know you're a pain, but I can't see through you. So that's a pun. That's, pain and pain. Yeah,
I like that.
Or, I still say to my kids when they go, I'm hungry, I go, hi, hungry, I'm dad. They're like,
they hate it. Oh, they hate it.
I do use that
I'm
one.
thirsty.
I do use that one. My daughter, I've actually started calling her Still as her first name and Hungry as her last name because she keeps coming up to me, Dad, I'm still hungry. So I'm like, okay, still hungry. So yeah. So I guess we're getting close to the end of the podcast. But Dave, what have you got planned in the coming weeks with comedy? Have you got much planned coming up?
Much planned. It's been hard to plan stuff with what's going on. I've got 3 podcasts that I do.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds crazy. I do one called The Debrief, which is just me interviewing comedians, which used to be we'd go to a gig and then drive home and talk about the gig. So, but now, because there are no live gigs in Melbourne, I just ring comics. But it's been a good opportunity to get people like Hamish Blake on, who doesn't do live work, or have on the, I got one of Arnie Donner on, Broden from Arnie Donner, the great sketch group, who, I mean, obviously they do live work, but I don't work with them very often. So it's been a good opportunity. And I do a podcast with Glenn Robbins called Somehow Related, which is fun. And I do one with Kitty Flanagan called The Junkies, which is all about...
Yeah, that's great. That is so good.
Food. Yeah, well, you obviously like a bit of snack food, do you?
Oh, do you know how much snack food I'm bringing home because of that podcast? I was telling Tim the other day about why Crunchies was softer than Violet Crumbles because of the compound chocolate.
Yes, but that's a good thing. Once you talk about this stuff on a podcast, a guy who works as an engineer at Cadbury got in contact and said, we use compound chocolate on Violet Crumbles because it keeps the honeycomb more crisp inside it forms a better vacuum seal. Yeah. But Tim, you obviously don't eat junk food because you're very skinny.
Oh, I do. In fact, straight before this podcast, we walked to the shop and I bought a block of s'mores, as Guido would say. The block of Cadbury s'mores, that is.
Oh, s'more, right.
And
my kids actually.
I ate about a third of that.
And I'm always telling my kids to eat healthy and all that kind of stuff. And they've got to eat the vegetables. If you don't eat healthy, you're going to put on weight. All this, you go through all the usual things, right? And Tim comes over, obviously not during lockdown, but pre-lockdown, and he'd go to the pantry and just eat a block of chocolate and a pack of chips and 3 ice creams right in front of us. And then when I try and tell the kids off later in the day, but Tim's got a 6-pack and he does this, and it's just... It ruins everything for me.
Not at the moment, but we have Pepsi Max for breakfast and Tim Tams and breakfast of champions. It's great.
Pepsi Max for breakfast? You're like an American.
Yeah.
Dave's like, that's gross. I have Diet Coke.
Yeah, Diet Coke's heaps better. I don't mind Pepsi Max, but you obviously exercise too, Tim. You got some sort of, I know this is a tech podcast, not a fitness podcast.
Yeah. Well, he's got a
gym.
Got a home
in his
gym.
living room. So where his TV is, he's got a home gym.
Yeah. I'm a bachelor, so you can do what you want. I used to be married, and I couldn't even have speakers next to the TV because it ruined the decor of the room. But now I've got a home gym in the living room. Got the couch pressed up against the side. I've got weights just in the living room. Floor mats made of like recycled rubber. So it's been good just being able to do some pull-ups and that sort of thing during lockdown. It's kept me sane. And,
so you're single, are you, Tim?
So some, I guess you'd say, I guess you'd say single. Yeah, I guess.
Are you looking, Dave? Are you looking for an out?
I'm just going to imagine bringing a young lady over and her walking in the lounge room, seeing a gym there. It's just like,
speaking of women, when we were starting this podcast, Tim's room that you can see there, his study's quite small, so he thought, I need a bigger room to set up in. So he actually was thinking of setting up all this equipment in the bedroom because his bedroom is very big. But then he thought, I can't bring someone home and have cameras set up in the bedroom and lighting and this little studio. So
weird.
He went for the study.
Exactly.
Good move, I reckon.
So on that note, I don't know how long we've been speaking for, but it's been
48 minutes.
48 minutes. So should probably wrap up the podcast there. It's been great to have you on, Dave. And thank you so much for being our first guest.
Sure.
You may not be Ruby Rose, but you're a lot funnier, at least. That's for sure.
Well, who knows?
Really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day as well to help us and have a chat to us. And it's really good.
Not that busy, but I've got 3 kids through there, so that's why I'm here. I'm hiding, basically.
Yeah.
So thanks for giving me some time out.
Yep.
In my bunker here with my chips.
Talk about tech, because this is a tech podcast.
It's a tech podcast. We even speak about tech. But anyway, get around to that next time when I'm not here. I don't know much about tech.
So if you'd like to join us, we normally finish off the show with a salute. So that's it from Onboard For Delivery. Good night.
Good night.
Cool. Well, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.